Alright guys, now I want us to look at U2.2. We are now solving for x and y all at the same time. So we are solving for x and y simultaneously. Most of the time you are going to have these two equations. One equation would be linear and one equation is quadratic. This is not the only type of a simultaneous equation, but I guess because that is the one that we have here. One thing that I want to mention here, good people, is that in maths it is easier to solve an equation that has one variable. Okay, so but when we look at these given equations, this one has 2y and also x. There is x here, there is y here. That gives us a challenge now because we have two equations that have two variables. So what we are going to try and do is to have one equation that has one variable. So how are we going to do that? We look at, most of this time we say, look at the linear equation. If we have the linear equation and the quadratic equation, and then in that linear equation we say it is easier or it is advisable to look at the term that has a coefficient of 1 or a coefficient of -1. Iyona oyithagethayo ngoba kuba lula ukuthi wenze i-subject of the formula leyo variable le. Alright, in this case ke yipi ene lokhuzana ne coefficient ka -1 or 1? So it is this one. So we need to make it the subject of the formula. And again, don't try to be flashy, just transpose this 1 and also x. Then if you are used in like the subject of the formula being on the left hand side, you can now do this. X is equal to what? 2y minus 1. That is your third equation now. So this is the third equation. Now what are we going to do with that equation? So now remember, I said earlier on, the aim is to have one equation that has one variable. That is why we are trying to find the third equation, so that we can substitute it into this equation here. It's very important again nalokho. So ubani substitute. So we said x is equal to 2y minus 1. That means where we see x, we are going to put 2y minus 1. So here is x here. We need to replace it by what? By 2y minus 1 all squared minus. We don't have a problem with y, so we can write it back as it is, equal to, this is equal to 37. Before you even continue, now check, do you have one equation with one variable? Yes, the only variable that we have now is y. So we can continue then, because sithi kulula uma ukuthi une equation ene variable enjani, ene variable eyodwa. Again, here I suggest that you open two sets of brackets, 2y minus 1 into 2y minus 1. Then you multiply 2y times 2y, that would be 4y squared. 2y times minus 1, that's minus 2y, minus 1 times 2y, minus 2y, minus 1 times minus 1, that will give you positive 1. So this is 4y squared minus 4y plus 1. So because of the space, I'm just going to write my answer here as 4y squared minus 4y plus 1. This is the answer to this. Okay, I've shown you how we got to that answer. Okay, and let us continue. So we now have grade 11. We now have minus 6y equal to 37. Adding the like terms, we are going to end up having 4y squared minus 10y, and then transposing the 37, let me do it, plus 1 minus 37 equal to 0. So this is going to be 4y squared minus 10y minus 36 equal to 0. Again, like I was saying earlier on, you can now use your quadratic formula and solve for this, but be careful. If you are using the quadratic formula, you can't say x equal to, this is not x, you are now working with y. That means in your quadratic formula, you need to do what? You need to say y is equal to, but the formula is still the same, but be cautious of the variable that you ended up with here. So that is very important if you are using the quadratic formula. Then for those who are comfortable with factors, obviously you can see you have 4y squared minus 10y minus 36. Here there is a common factor in those numbers there, and the common factor is 2. Now factoring out 2 in this equation will leave us with 2, I write it on top here, will leave us with 2y squared minus 5y minus 18 equal to what? Equal to 0. Remember, we are moving from here to there. Alright, now the factors here are factors of 2y, gonna be 2y and y, and the factors of 18 that can give us a minus 5. Mangabeswa subtractor, we have 2 and 9. So if we put 9 here and 2 here, let us check. This is going to be 9y. This is going to be 4y. Remember, we said we want to subtract this thing and get minus 5. So 9y must be what? Must be negative. So minus must go this side and positive this side. Okay, let us continue. I hope you understand, Anna. So okay, we said low negative, low positive. So this is now y equal to, let me write it like this first, minus 9 equal to 0, or y plus 2 equal to 0. So 2y is equal to 9, or y is equal to minus 2. So y is equal to 9 over 2, or y is equal to minus 2. But remember, we were solving for what? X and y simultaneously. Now we only have the y values, and we're still looking for the x values. It is easier, good people, if you go straight to what? To this equation here, because it was already in terms of x, and say x is equal to, if y is this, so it's going to be 9 over 2 minus minus 1. So this is 9 minus 1, which is 8. Well, I'm not sure whether the space will allow me. So it's x equal to the second one. If now your y is minus 2, so it will be minus 2 minus 1, and then your answer will be minus 5. So these are the x values. So you have the y values. However, you have y equal to 9 over 2, which is almost the same, which is the same as 4,5, and the second value of y is minus 2, and the value of x, if y is equal to 9 over 2, the value of x, we said it is 8, and here the value of x is minus 5. Well, this is basically the points. If x is equal to 8, y is equal to 9 over 2, and then if x is equal to minus 5, y is equal to minus 2. This is very much important to understand when we are dealing with functions, because we use it to find what? The points of intersection. We use it to find the point of intersection. So manje kodwa ke ake sibambelana. Mhlawumbe we need to go back and check here ukuthi how do we allocate marks in this type of an equation. So the first mark, if there was a need of making that third equation, the first mark will go to the third equation, and then the second mark will go to what? To a substitution. That is very important. So those first two marks, marks are balulekile, and then the third mark will go to the standard form of what? Of the quadratic equation. Can be this one before factorization, before a common factor 2, because omunye ngakwazi ukuthi asebenzise lo quadratic formula aphume ne-answer. And then the fourth mark will go to what? To factors. Ngiyaphinda futhi, if you are using quadratic formula, should that fourth mark is a substitution step. And then the fifth mark will go to either y values or x values, depending what then the sixth and the last mark will go to the x values. So this type of problem is normally plus minus 6 marks. Okay, all right guys, about to question number 2. We are done with the question number 2. I was hoping I'm going to do question number 3, but looking at the amount of time that I have now, I doubt I'll be able to do question number 3. I would say these videos, siwasebenzise, and if good khona la unga-understandanga khona, please make notes, write down your questions. When we meet face to face, we are going to help you with those questions. Love you so much guys. Let's meet tomorrow when we are doing question number 3. Okay.